was what would have been our 33rd anniversary. It was like the day.
Oh, wow.
Weird.
Yeah, but was he...
Nice.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, no ego? No, let's be real.
I mean, this is Cody we're talking about.
I know.
Said, your life is not one that I want to insert myself into.
So why didn't he excuse himself instead of waiting for you to pull the trigger?
I don't know.
Hi, friends. It's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, December 9th, 2024. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Remember last year, I spoke about how Meri Brown had become close to a group of women that some of them she had grown up with that were part of the Apostolic United Brethren that had left. And I said that she had been particularly leaning on a friend of hers that was once a plural wife, I think a second wife, and she had left polygamy. And this friend was helping her with getting ready to leave and helping her with moving on, deconstructing, working through her emotions, and that Meri had been a big part in helping her get out as well. And I told you about how this had been really helping Meri kind of get out of this mindset that she had to live in polygamy. Okay, I told you about how this was going on, and this is where we meet her. Her name is Andrea. And I had let you know that Andrea had played a big part in helping Meri with her moving on. And Andrea appeared on this most recent episode, and she sat down with Meri and her friend Hilary, another one that was from the group, someone that Meri had newly met, but someone else that was out of polygamy. And Andrea and Hilary seemed to be a good sounding board for Meri. Now, obviously on the show, this is a not scripted, but it's an arranged lunch, at lgar, and it's there for the purpose of talking with them about what she's doing, how things are, and to talk about the relationship. But these kinds of conversations with Meri and between Meri, Andrea, and Hilary had been ongoing for a very long time. Andrea has been a very big part of her life and helping her leave Cody. So, and I think I told you that it was one of Andrea's sisters-in-law that I spoke to about this. And they had also mentioned that because of this connection with Andrea, Meri had been opening up about some of the challenges that she had had with Cody and how she was kind of deconstructing and getting rid of some of those beliefs that she had had about how, you have to suffer, jealousy is something you can't feel. We had talked about how Meri had always been in survival mode, that Meri was probably the one that had spent the most amount of time of all of the women deconstructing and trying to get stripping of it. So this interaction between Meri and her friends actually was a very pleasant surprise to me because Christine has moved on and I am all for it. Like we saw Christine try on dresses and she was smashing the patriarchy left, right, and center with what she tried on and the skin that she showed, which by the way, she looked gorgeous and great. Like these women spent so many years having to dress down and have their bodies be shamed as though they were going to provoke a man. And now Christine was able to own her sexuality, which was wonderful. So, but Christine, for her part, we haven't met a lot of people she hasn't had a lot of conversations with people about, why polygamy has been bad. She hasn't been seen with friends having to help her kind of deconstruct. And perhaps it's because Christine spent years in the marriage leaving these beliefs. And by the time she left, she didn't need to have these kinds of conversations. But having these kinds of conversations on camera, I think is important because for a very long time, these women were forced to deny the reality of polygamy and deny their feelings and deny the truth. And now the truth is finally coming out. So I kind of want to show you a clip about some of the things that were said to her.
Yes.
Ever since he has married Robin, for me, he has wanted nobody else. Everyone thinks it. But that is the minute he married her, those two just, I don't know. It's like he didn't really care for any of the others. Or you?
I agree with her. I think it was not something that I recognized for many, many years.
So last week on the episode, Cody basically had said that once he got together with Robin, he fell in love and it was like the person that he wanted. And he had to hide his feelings for her, which he really didn't. And then he ultimately had to lie publicly and say that he was in love with everyone, right? And he had to play the game because he's a fraud. And what Andrea is pointing out is obvious to what all of us know is that as soon as they got married, Cody and Robin were like a unit, a thing. And Cody really just viewed her as his trophy wife, his epitome of his success. I mean, this is what he said in a podcast last year that she was the epitome of his success because she was a diesel jean model that was beautiful, that had other options within the church. And he wanted to only be with her. Of course, in this episode, Cody then goes on to deny this and says that, when he met Robin, he never actually loved her more. Nothing changed in how he treated people. And episode to episode, depending on the information that's presented to Cody, you see a different take. But the truth is the truth and it doesn't change. But Cody's does. Now, other components in this conversation that I thought were interesting were here.
The idea of you dating someone else.
The idea of
is
me dating
vulgar.
somebody else is vulgar, but it's not vulgar for him to. And in that moment, at that anniversary, Cody was making me feel like I was wrong, having the emotions of jealousy, but that's a normal human emotion and it's okay to feel that. It's one of the big things that is taught is that you have to suffer in order to get to heaven. And I don't believe that.
For a very long time, the way that Meri would have framed what she just said about how this religion has taught her that, in order to get into heaven, you have to suffer. She would have said that this is a self-help religion. That's how they described it, that you need to learn to get over your situations and get better with yourself to become more perfect. She would have never described it as suffering, even though that's how it's taught, that the more you suffer, the bigger blessings are in heaven, which is what I've said on this channel for years. And I don't think that even Janelle would say this right now, that she was taught that she had to suffer. I think she would still not say that. I think she would still somehow protect this concept that in polygamy, it's a self-help model that's teaching you that you need to be a better person. And that includes getting over your emotions and not feeling them. But her friends went on to basically say that there's a lot of mental gymnastics that are used by polygamists in order to try to ignore people's feelings and to justify what it is that they do to people. So they can say, like, you need to suffer. And by suffering, it means I get to have other women. I get to have sex with other women. I get to have children with other women. You suffer the feelings of jealousy and anger and insecurity so that you can get over those and accept the fact that I get to do that. And by getting over it, you're going to get bigger blessings in heaven. So please let me be your tool to get you to heaven. It's cruel. It's unusual punishment to a woman. And that's kind of what the friends are saying to her. Like Cody might say it's vulgar, right? For her to have another husband, but for Cody, it wasn't vulgar. And even Meri said that. Like it's a double standard and it's not fair and it's ridiculous. And, if Meri can say, I don't believe I need to suffer to get into heaven, it's a good step forward. But her friends don't necessarily believe she's fully at the point where she's ready to let go. They don't believe that she really truly is at that stage where she can look back yet and not go back to Cody. They even say they think she's still at a point where if he wanted another chance, she would give him an option.
Are there monogamous husband and wife that are completely happy all the time?
I don't have to wonder if my husband loves sleeping with me more than someone else. I don't have to wonder if my husband's going to provide for a different wife more than me. There's so much survival that's not met that it's hard to find and connect with each other because you're constantly in survival. Survival isn't the way to happiness.
I honestly really found Hilary's perspective very, very refreshing. It's like she's saying everything that I've said on this channel for how many years. And quite honestly, at points in the conversation, and I don't know if this is how it was intended to be, but there were definitely points where it felt like this was kind of a little bit of an intervention to Meri to say, like, some of those thoughts that you thought and those talking points that you use, that it's hard in monogamous marriages. Because remember, they would always say, our relationships are no different than monogamous. No monogamous relationship is the same. And Hilary says, I've never seen a polygamous family ever truly happy. I've never seen one example of a happiness, which is exactly what Kristen Decker said and the other people when they had that panel in season 6. Remember, they all said that. They all pushed back and said that they were basically liars, that there are people that are happy, right? And now she's saying this, and Meri is very open to it. And she's saying, like, but is it true that monogamists aren't as perfect either? And she's right. You don't have to worry if your husband's sleeping with another person. And if he enjoys that sex more than he does with you. You don't have to worry if he likes her more than you and he's going to spend more money on you. You don't have to fear if your husband is going to leave you abandoned because of another woman. And she's right. When you are in survival mode, you can't emotionally connect with anyone. You are in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You are in a trauma response and you are trauma bonding to people. You're not actually forming relationships. And because they're not allowed to say how they actually feel and they have to protect everyone else, they don't form connection with their spouses or the other people in the family. And Andrea had said that when she left, what she felt was that she didn't really even realize until after she left that she didn't even really know her husband that well because of the way that the system was set up, because they can't connect due to the fact that she couldn't have feelings. And Meri, in many ways, is very much still holding on to this idea that polygamy can still work. And even last week on her TikTok, she said the same thing. So she's not there yet. She hasn't been able to let go of this concept that polygamy at its core is wrong. She still has some belief that it works, but it just didn't work for her.
Part of you probably staying was, I don't know, did I do enough? Did I suffer enough? Did I give Kody unlimited chances?
Yeah.
And I even hear it now, like, you probably would do one more chance. There's a point where they don't deserve the chances. I'd love to see you get to the point where you're not redeclaring, I would have stayed. I'd love to see you get to the point where it's like, you know what? I loved my time with Kody and I love where I am now.
Okay, I'll work on that.
I'm really glad that she does have people in her life that are having these conversations with her. And as much as I'm sure she has value with her friends that she's met that haven't come from this world, I imagine that when you have someone that lived it, that left and has the perspective to share with you how you can get to the happiness on the other side, I can imagine that would be empowering, helpful, make you feel validated in your emotions. It's good that she has people that she can relate to, that she can share her feelings with. It's clear that both of them really do want the best for Meri. And I think a lot of what they see in Meri and what I got from some of Meri's responses to them is that Meri still feels really, I think her self-esteem took such a beating by Kody. I think that programming where she just needs to do more, and if she would have done more, he would have loved her more, because that's what was told to her, which is, how many times do you need to give this man chances to prove to you that he doesn't love you? But then you have to fight against the fact that the cult tells you that even if he doesn't love you, just stay there, because if you do stay and you let him abandon you and you don't stay together, like, even you can still get to the celestial kingdom and be reunited with your family if you stay single and in this eternal union with him, because you'll suffer even more. And I think that for Meri, there's probably maybe ties where she doesn't want to let go of that concept of like reuniting with her family in eternity, right? Like, if your whole life has been based upon the fact that, like, I need to get to that place because that's where mom and dad are, that's where all my siblings are that passed away, my loved ones, but then you can't get there now because you've left, it's got to be a huge mind F for her. And it's going to be hard for her to unpack those feelings. And I'm glad that she has friends that can be direct with her, but also show her compassion and offer support and say to her, like, I understand this is how you feel right now. I can tell that you still want him back. And I hope you get to a place where you can say you're glad it's over. Because quite honestly, I think at this point when Meri was saying this, and I still think to a degree today, she doesn't want to acknowledge that, or she doesn't want to accept the fact that, like, it's over. Not she wants to still say she did her best. She wants to say that she put in everything. She wants to still say that she didn't want this to end so that she doesn't feel like this was a failure, because failure in this religion means you lose your eternity, you lose your family. You lose your purpose and your relationship that you have with God. And who wants to be a failure to God? That's hard, and that's what I honestly hate about this branch of quote unquote Christianity, which Christians don't like that Mormons call themselves Christians. And I understand that. But that's what I don't like about this branch, because it's like they're told they need to be perfect in order to get to heaven. And so accepting failure is hard. There's other branches of Christianity where failure is not expected, where being broken is okay, where Jesus accepts you with whoever you are and whatever you're at and wherever you're at, and just work on forgiving yourself, forgiving others, being kind to people. But there's never an expectation of perfection, ever. You never have to be perfect like Jesus. They don't expect you to be sinless like him, but this faith does. They and people are so afraid to not be perfect that when things do fall apart, they're afraid to admit it to themselves, because then they feel like they failed. And I just hope that in time, Meri knows that she didn't fail. This wasn't a failure. She was born or brought into a fraudulent religion and cult that tore down her self esteem, self worth, identity, autonomy, sexuality, and equality so that she could exist for a man, and for the purpose of that selfish, sex obsessed man's agenda to become a god. And when you tell men and women that they can become god and goddesses, they can become narcissists. And then she's been in a narcissistic, abusive relationship for 33 years. And that doesn't untangle itself from you in 6 months. And I know she's been away from him for 10 years, but when it's final and she knows there's no going back and there's that finality to it, it is still feels probably very raw to her, because before there was always the hope that they could get better. And now that hope is gone. And so she's going to have to mourn that as well. And there are some times where Meri just comes off so confident, so smart, so intelligent. And then there's other times where she seems vulnerable and raw and broken. And I hope that in this journey for her, she recognizes that being broken is okay. It's okay to be broken. It's okay not to be perfect, and it's okay to fail. Ultimately, you didn't fail. You left an abusive partner. And that's actually, I hope in maybe 10 years, she'll view that as empowering, that she actually put herself first, because she didn't forever. She was not allowed to, and now she is. It's a lot to unpack, and I'm glad she has these friends, and I'm glad that my source was right. I mean, I never doubted my source was right, but I'm just glad that Meri does have these friends, and I'm glad you're seeing what I was told, because I knew she had these people in her life, and so I'm glad that you guys got to see it on this episode, if you watched it, or in this video that I just made. So you guys, we're getting very close. We are at 394,000. We are 6,000 away from 400,000 subscribers. As I told you last week, I'd love to get there by the new year or after, but soon. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button before you go on the way out, and let me know what your thoughts are about this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.